Good evening, everyone. Steve Walls here, alongside Darren Smit, live from Arrowhead Stadium here in Kansas City, man. Up and down game, man. The Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals 26-25. Darren, man, initial thoughts on this roller coaster of a game?
Initial thoughts were, we were joking about it in the press box, how you asked me pregame, what did the Bengals need to do to beat
you couldn't wait to say that.
Hey, I'm going right off the bat to say that.
Okay.
And I said, but in all seriousness, I said they need to have the Mahomes from 2021 and the AFC Championship game show up. And unfortunately, that's what happened, that not only gave them, ample opportunities to put the game away, but have a chance at the very end to even win the game. But defense saved Mahomes a few times this evening, and of course, at the end of the day, Harrison Butker, who's behind us, of course, got the kicked the game-winning field goal, for the Chiefs to come out victorious, 26-25. So overall, just initial thoughts: Chiefs just make things difficult when they at times don't feel like they have to.
And you talking about making things difficult. Let's start with the offense. What did you see from them earlier today?
Not much.
Yeah.
It looked as though at times they were trying to force feed, or Patrick was trying to force to get the ball into Travis Kelce. And, there were times where I believe on their first drive where they got, I think that was a missed opportunity where you could have made a statement when you got down, I think, to the 2-yard line. And instead of going for it, you decided to kick the field goal. Obviously, Cincinnati on their first drive scored a field goal, so it was 3-0 there. But, to kind of, the fans want you to do it and would have understood, like, if you don't get it, you don't get it, but at least they got to go 98 yards to try to score. And the fact that you didn't, to kind of put a statement out there, like, this is our house, and, you're not going to disrespect Kansas, Missouri here, all that stuff. I felt that they let that opportunity pass them by. So, and then, like I said, just throughout the game, obviously that was a hell of a pass to Rashid that dropped in his bare basket for the touchdown. But really, I mean, there were just too many mistakes, and the offensive line is a situation that I know we're going to talk about. But yeah, I wasn't impressed at all with the offense once again.
And you talked about those mistakes. Patrick Mahomes, 2 turnovers with 2 interceptions today. For me, I feel like
it felt like more, honestly.
Yeah, for me, I feel like he was a little pressed. I saw some instances where, and it's one in particular, you're down in the red zone. They had some red zone issues. You're down in the red zone, and you have a bunch of guys who can go up and get it, right? Like, you have Travis Kelce, you have, even a Juju Smith-Schuster, Rashee Rice, but you decide to throw the ball to the back of the end zone to an Xavier Worthy. I just don't understand that. It seems like he was pressing the issue, trying to get it to Xavier Worthy down the field a little bit. What'd you see?
I saw that as well. Again, the red zone stuff is really just it amplifies and raises a lot of questions as to, again, why are you pressing? Why are you trying to force the issue when you have enough talent? Because, look, I know there were a lot of people that were were upset about their parlays because they felt you got down to the 1-2 yard line, give the ball to Pacheco. I think again, we look at the first drive, and some of the other drives that they had down there inside the red zone. You would think give it to your workhorse, give it to some people who are dependable. I know Carson still had the fumble early on, which granted that stuff happens, but just inopportune times, man. It just seemed like it just something wasn't clicking today. And again, I kind of felt that, and you did as well. I remember we talked about it, that they were kind of trying to get the ball to Travis because they didn't really do much with them against Baltimore. And, obviously the big deal with Taylor always comes to the games, and she's yet to be able to jump up and down for Kelce to get into the end zone. And trust me, it is something. It's not like it ain't talked about, because it is. And so, again, because when you look at Patrick's stats, nothing stands out about it. He only threw for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the 2 interceptions. Which again, it would have been 3, but there was a
illegal use of the hands.
Use of the hands that saved him from having a third turnover in the ball game, which is just, again, this is uncharacteristic of Mahomes.
Now, looking on the other side of the ball offensively for the Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. I mean, he was 23 of 36 today, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns. I feel like
he gets up to play Kansas City.
I feel like he was saved by, and when we talked about it pregame, Mike Gesicki.
Yeah. You mentioned it. Yeah, I mean, because he was a backup, and the fact that he had, I think, seven targets for 91 yards, and then we talked about. I remember talking to, I think it was Nick Bolton in the locker room, and I said it seemed like they were keen on making sure that if anybody was going to beat him, it wasn't going to be Jamar Chase.
Right.
And we looked at, because we talked about, I couldn't pronounce the gentleman's name, but he had the only two catches of the ball game, but they both happened to be for touchdowns for the Bengals. And again, Burrow gets up to play the Chiefs, and because I said pregame that I didn't think they had the talent, the skill positions to go toe to toe with the Chiefs, and they made a liar out of me today.
And you mentioned Jamar Chase. He was 4 receptions on 5 targets for 35 yards, 0 touchdowns.
Yeah.
This is, and we talked about it pregame. This is a Bengals team that is not like the Bengals team that we've seen the last 4 or 5 years, where you have the Jamar Chase, the T. Higgins, the Joe Mixon of the world. Did they look a lot differently for you?
Well, yeah, because as we mentioned, he didn't have the talent around. I mean, the talent, the skill position. Really, the only player you had Mike Gesicki, who's an older player, longer in the tooth, but played well today. And the Chiefs didn't really prepare for him because he's a backup. And then, the other wide receiver, his only 2 catches happened to be short yardage plays in the end zone that somehow they were beating the Chiefs to where he was wide open or whatever. So, no, I mean, you didn't have T. Higgins, who's out with a quad injury or leg injury. There's no Tyler Boyd there. And Zach Moss, to his credit, played well, but he's still no Joe Mixon, who folks will see later on Sunday Night Football. So, again, it was surprising that this offense did what it did against the Chiefs defense, but the offense for the Chiefs did not help at all with the turnovers and the penalties and the pressure that they got on Mahomes, which, I mean, I don't know if we talk about it or not, but, they need some help with the left tackle. I mean, I love Kingsley. He's a rookie, want to give him grace, but these first 2 weeks, this is going to be a tough period. I know that they have some playmakers down in Atlanta. I know they play tomorrow night against Philly, but when you go up against the Chargers in 2 weeks, who are also undefeated, you got to deal with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. So, I mean, this is a hell of an initiation for him.
But you think about these first 2 games. It's the gauntlet of 2 playoff teams, 2 playoff caliber AFC teams, man. And you think about what happened last week with Baltimore, close game. This week with the Cincinnati Bengals, close game. Can it get any better than this? I mean, you look at, you're going down to Atlanta, you're going to Cleveland. I don't think Atlanta or Cleveland is Baltimore.
Well,
and
Chargers.
Good Chargers.
Play Cleveland in December,
yeah.
But what's your question?
No, Atlanta and the Chargers.
Yeah.
How would you compare them to this first couple games that they've had?
If we see the Chargers, I'm sorry, if we see the Falcons that took place last week against Pittsburgh, I mean, I like the Chiefs' chances. But here's the thing. The Chiefs have yet to wow us offensively. Granted, Xavier had a couple of plays. He had the end around, and, of course, he had the broken play where he was wide open. But they haven't really done anything to really challenge the defenses or whatever that would keep them honest, where Patrick could have a lot more flexibility where he could get to get some passes to Kelsey and other receivers or whatever. It seems like, again, he's kind of tied to Rasheed and maybe one other player. And so if we see the Falcons from last week and depending on what we see tomorrow, I do like the Chiefs' chances again against the Falcons, because I don't think Kirk Cousins is one of those stationary quarterbacks where if Chris Jones and George Karlaftis don't have a big games, I'm talking about multiple sacks next week, then we got to start questioning something with the defense, because one, Kirk Cousins does not have a great. I think he might have won one primetime game, which might have been last year against the 49ers. And other than that, I think his primetime games are dismal. So this is an opportunity for them to get things right. And we look at the Chargers. The Chargers are going to run the football. That's what Jim Harbaugh has done these last 2 weeks. And they've been able to put points on the board and keep the opposing team on the sideline. So, again, if that's their game plan, the Chiefs, when they're out there, they either need a match stat, depending on, whatever news come out over the next 24, 48 hours. And if not, then they need to be able to make sure they can get some big play, explosive offense to get, kind of put the Chargers, back on their heels in a couple of weeks.
And I would agree. Of course, the news that could possibly come out Isaiah Pacheco was seen leaving the stadium today, not too long ago, with crutch and walking boot.
Yeah.
Very emotional in the locker room. Of course, he didn't finish the game. We saw the rookie out there, and we also saw Samaje Perine out there as well. Let's just say Isaiah Pacheco is not able to, continue on this season. What kind of loss is Isaiah Pacheco?
Well, I mean, obviously he's a huge loss. I mean, his energy is one thing that really is hard to replace. I mean, especially when you add him and McKinnick together, and of course Clyde. I mean, that type of veteran leadership and energy you can't duplicate.
Right.
I think play-wise, you have the veteran in Samaje Perine, where I don't think you get a drop-off, but it does put more pressure on him to make sure he picks up the offense and the stuff like that, and which I believe that any of them will see to it that he'll be okay as it relates to that, to getting the plays up to him, let him know where he needs to be. I'm not really familiar with his pass blocking skills, but obviously we'll see about that. But it will be hard to replace what he brings, because he is very intense when it comes to running. And look, Carson Steele, he has, people kind of compare his running style to Pacheco, to Kareem Hunt. And so, again, a lot of pressure is going to be put on them, to where now if you look at a situation where if they need to replace a Hollywood Brown, replace Isaiah Pacheco. But, the Chiefs, they do have great depth, and Brett Veach, I mean, this is what he gets paid to do. So
yeah, it definitely is what he gets paid to do. There's some guys that are out there. What's some first names that come to your mind?
Running back, I really thought about that part. I'd still say give McKinnick a chance. Now, he's a different type of running back, but you still need depth. So, I mean, he's someone who knows the playbook. You can put him in. He definitely can be a great pass catcher. So I think he would kind of offset a Steele, a Perine, in the backfield. So I do think they probably give him a call. I can't think of any other running backs at the moment that might be out there that's available. I know we talked earlier about wide receivers. I would look at a Michael Thomas, depending on what he's looking. I mean, he can't obviously be asking for that kind of money because nobody's paying him. So
Right.
So you come in veteran minimum and try to prove a type deal. So I mean, to me, those are the two names that I'm looking at if I'm Brett Veach.
And Chiefs have run into this problem before.
Yeah.
Where it seems like the defense doesn't respect the run, or they don't respect the run and they tee off on the wide receivers. Is that something that you can foresee happening if they don't, figure it out? And that's just we're saying that Isaiah Pacheco possibly could miss some time.
Yeah. No. Yes. I mean, I can see that happen if they don't take care of it. But again, this is. The good thing about the Chiefs is that the majority of their players who have been on the Super Bowl team over the last 2 years are still here. So, again, I'll be the first to say it's time for some of these other players to cowboy the F up. Seriously, I mean, Sky Moore, some of these other players that may not have gotten a playing time, but you're going to get reps, you're going to get opportunities. You just got to cowboy up, and get out there and the playbook. You've been in the last couple of years. It's time for you to produce and show why the Chiefs kept you on the roster versus looking to cut you and bring other players in.
Let's talk about this defense. You said that they saved Patrick Mahomes a few times.
They did.
It always has been said the defense wins championships. What did you see from this Chiefs defense today?
Game changers. Again, they got talk about the D line. Chris Jones, and George. I mean, they got it. I mean, they put pressure on Burrow. I mean, they got to him. I think 3 times. They might have sacked him 3 times. They were able. I mean, the defensive back. I know Joshua Williams had some issues where I think on the touchdown pass. I know one of them, the receiver was kind of wide open. Williams was kind of lost behind him. The linebackers, I know people, get on Nick Bolton or whatever, but I thought they did a real good job. He and Drew Tranquil both had, I think, 7 tackles in the ball game. Justin Reed, man, I mean,
Warrior.
I mean, look, man, if I wish that the fans could sometimes be in a locker room with us, talking to Justin. This is one of the first times that we were going to do an interview, but he was hurting so bad. So man, we'll just wait till Atlanta. But you and I both saw talked to him, his hands, his fingers, he had, I mean, the things that they do or that they did just in today's game to, to lift their level of play up to help this team win, did not go unnoticed. And I know it didn't go unnoticed from their teammates, but at least from us, we saw and we know the sacrifice that he made personally and I'll just give you all a description. One of his fingers literally exploded, and they had to glue his skin and stuff back together, so he could get back out there and play. I mean, when we talk about Warrior, that's this type of person that we're talking about. But yeah, man, I mean, man, your boy Spags, he got some dogs out there, man.
He does, most definitely does.
But let me get your thoughts. I mean, what was your impression?
I think the Chiefs' defense picked right up where they left off from last year. We talked about them, needing to be, and we've said this.
But they have given us some big plays that.
Yeah. Joshua, we talked about Josh Williams.
But I'm saying in between the 20s, they were giving a big plays. Now, when you crunch it and you got down to the red zone, they were able to hold them a lot of times to a field goal and stuff like that. But it's between the 20s that I get concerned with most times.
And here's the thing about it. They picked up right where they left off. However, they're missing a huge factor, and people would like to say, "Oh, it doesn't really matter." But L'Jarius Sneed is heavily missed on opposite Trent McDuffie.
Yeah,
I mean, Trent McDuffie was sliding from number one receiver to number two receiver back to number one. We saw Jamar Chase. Yep. We even saw the aggressiveness of Trent McDuffie and Jamar Chase getting frustrated to where that 15-yard penalty was huge.
Yeah,
and you saw Jamar Chase go up to the sideline, throw his helmet, get into it with the coach, referee. So, I mean, that frustration that Trent has been able to, impose on these defenses, man. I think Trent's still one of the top cornerbacks in the league.
No doubt.
I feel like this defense is, if not number one, they're number two in the NFL.
No, I don't disagree at all. I mean, the way they've played, and look, man, it is a different when you're playing at home, and they were able to feed off the crowd. We just hope that they don't put themselves in a situation where they're on the road where they have to try to deal with the crowd and deal with the officials and stuff like that. But again, we'll see the next 2 weeks the Chiefs are on the road, and now the good thing about the next two games is that the Chiefs travel well, but also next weekend is going to be I guess the Chiefs take over in Atlanta. So kind of like how the Steelers did the first game against the Falcons, because our guy Jared Bell told me, he said that the crowd was so loud that the home team, the Falcons, had to go on a silent count. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I expect from Chiefs fans next week. And then, of course, we know the Chargers really don't have a home base, so Chiefs fans will fill out that stadium as well. So,
all right, you guys can catch myself and Darren Smith tomorrow, along with Uncle Sean Tyler and DJ Q. We'll be live right here on our platforms that you're watching us on now. Remember, 6:30 to 7:30, the Red Hour will be live tomorrow. Myself, Darren Smith, Sean Tyler, and also DJ Q. Darren, anything else you have?
Man, all I know is Chiefs don't like blowouts, but I can't understand for the life of me why these games go down to the wire, man. Trust me.
Well, let me ask you this: would you rather have?
I'd rather a blowout.
A pretty loss or ugly win?
Well, considering our parlay was busted earlier,
pretty loss or ugly win?
I guess an ugly win. I mean, okay. I've never met a pretty loss before.
Watching this, pretty loss or ugly win? Chime in on the chat. Pretty loss or ugly win? I would take the ugly win. And what happened today?
I'm gonna take it because the last look. And here's the thing: the Chiefs are 2-0 against teams that they have faced in the AFC Championship game the last 2 years, and could possibly face in the playoffs. And so, having these wins are monumental, and because now both teams, Baltimore with their loss to the Ravens today, both teams are now 0-2 in their division. So they essentially have to climb 4 games just to get out their division and try to get to play. So these wins help for later on down the year. So it's very important.
Of course. All right. For myself, Steve Walls, for Darren Smith, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us post game. Make sure catch us tomorrow in the Red Hour. We out of here.
Peace.